Hello, welcome back to the podcast. Today I'm going to be sharing with you the top modern day stresses that I see that affect all of us as human beings and also how to thrive as a woman in this modern world. Things are so different now, it's just undeniable. Even over the past 50 years, if you think about all of the inventions and progressions in some areas, it can be amazing. There's so many things in modern medicine that I love, but it's also showing with the rates of chronic disease that something's not adding up, something's not right. Our DNA and genetics haven't caught up. I think it takes several thousand years for your actual genetic code to be able to catch up. So no wonder people are struggling with their health and women are struggling with hormone issues, their weight, their skin, their mood, brain function hormones, period. Our body is trying to tell us that something is wrong. And there's never just one thing. I usually find it's a little bit of a few. So in this episode, I'll share how the modern world isn't very health promoting. And obviously I'm going to let you know what you can do to combat that. I'm not just going to leave it on bad luck. Unfortunately, this is just what we're facing. There's always going to be some recommendations and things to look into. And at the end of this episode, I want to share a very special invitation to my group coaching program, which is actually starting next Monday, the 16th of September. And I do have a couple more spaces to fill before we kick off the first live group coaching call, so it's not too late to join. I would love to have you. You can spend the next 3 months with me and a very small group of like-minded women working on your hormone health so that you can feel confident, calm, and clear as to what you need to do to thrive as a woman in this modern world. So let's get into the episode. Here are some of the challenges we are up against in the modern world that's contributing to health issues in general, but especially hormonal chaos for a lot of women. And then some solutions. You might want to take notes. This is going to be quite a juicy episode. So number one, we are an overstimulation nation with traffic, mobile phones, constant messages, internet access, advertisement, social media, and this fast-paced lifestyle. Our nervous systems are often in fight and flight mode, which is the opposite of the healing, rest and digest mode. These are all low-grade stressors to the system, low-grade and chronic. So they're not like they used to be back in the day, in cavemen days. The stressors were few and far between. Sometimes they were more life-threatening versus what we're faced with now, and more serious, like famine and being chased by a saber-toothed tiger, but we didn't have this chronic bombardment throughout the day. And even the processed food, the electromagnetic frequencies, it all has an impact on our bodies. So let's dive deeper into some of these. So social media is something that I love. It's a big part of my work, and it's how maybe you're finding me. This is how you know about my work, but it can also be very toxic. It often shows a highlight reel, as we all know, people sharing their wins and everything's going right in our life. And we all logically know that, but then we still get sucked into it thinking that everyone must be having an amazing life and it's just us struggling. Even our parents, their generation, they wouldn't have known what most of their friends were up to unless they physically met in person and had a conversation. And now we can see literally everyone that we know in about 2 minutes, even the lives of people that we don't know. It really is crazy to think how much we all use and rely on social media now. A lot of businesses, I always say, if I didn't have a business that used social media, I just wouldn't have it at all. But it's not that you have to go off grid completely and throw your smartphone away, but really check in on your screen time and also who you're following. Is it supportive health accounts and motivational quote accounts that really make you feel good and provide helpful information? Or is it a bunch of influencers sharing their dream lives that you're comparing yourself to? Even with the health accounts though, pay attention to what they're sharing and if it's leaving you feeling more overwhelmed and confused, and maybe limit how many people you are following because it can just be information overload otherwise. Obviously follow my page at Viva Natural Health, but if you're following 300 different accounts that are all sharing conflicting advice, you will get confused and you'll start to question what you're doing. And something that everyone needs to do, I don't care who you are or what you're struggling with, I think we should all be avoiding social media within the first 30 minutes, absolute minimum, but ideally the first hour that starts the day and ends the day. We do not want to be filling our subconscious mind with other people's lives, comparison, or even just the high dopamine levels just from the screen time at these key times of the day when our subconscious mind is the most open and the most receptive. This is also going to help your hormones. So it's a double benefit because you won't be staring at your device that's shining blue light directly in your eyes when you should be getting sunlight first thing, and you should be getting really good melatonin from avoiding blue lights at night. This fast-paced lifestyle that we lead, a lot of us these days, is putting a lot of women into the masculine energy. It's very go, go, go. And the behaviours have just been passed down for a lot of families over the last few generations, where women started to work, and after the feminist movements, which was initially for equality, which obviously I'm all for, but I do think it's gone a bit too far these days, where a lot of women hate on men and see them as the lesser sex even, but that's a whole nother conversation I'm not going to get into today. A lot of us live in fear. The brain is designed to focus on the negative. It's how it keeps us safe, but it can actually go too far and contribute to anxiety and other mental and physical health conditions. A lot of us can't relax, and it's only been exacerbated in the past few years after the 2020 lockdowns. People are scared of deadly viruses that are going to kill us all. The media's job also is to fearmonger and grab our attention, but it's keeping us in this sympathetic fight and flight mode overdrive. No wonder people are struggling with chronic illnesses the way that they are and hormone imbalances. The brain needs us to feel safe in order to reproduce and have healthy hormones. So the antidote to this is to support your nervous system, work on your mindset, and learn to regulate your stress levels as much as possible. This is always going to be a work in progress. It's not like you do it once and then you're fine forever. Life can throw things at us, and we shouldn't be avoiding stress completely. It's not even possible to avoid stress, but if we learn how to navigate it and we learn to put our body into this parasympathetic mode the majority of the time, we work on reframing our mindset, rewiring our brain so that we focus more on the positive, gratitude, and learning about the universal laws such as the law of attraction, which is what you focus on expands. Basically, you will see that there's actually so much to be happy about and so much that's going well in your life. Turn off the news, limit your social media usage, stop listening to people who are constantly in a fear-based mentality. Even look at what movies and TV shows and podcasts you're listening to. If you're struggling with anxiety and you're listening to serial killer documentaries and podcasts, then you're just making things worse for yourself. Maybe stopping listening to that isn't going to completely get rid of your anxiety, but it is probably one of many factors that are contributing. Having a more resilient nervous system in general means that we can handle stress better and not let it knock us down. I remember when my hormones were completely imbalanced and my adrenals were fried, the smallest inconvenience would completely disrupt my day. Or if I had to do something new or drive somewhere, I would have to research and I would be really anxious socially, and just doing new things, I just couldn't handle any change. Whereas now I'm so much more relaxed and free-flowing. I'm definitely not one of those people who can show up at the airport and buy a ticket on the day. I am a Virgo. I love to be organized and have a plan in place, but with stress, we can actually work on our body and strengthen it up so that when a stressful event happens, which is inevitable, we can come out the other side stronger, and we can strengthen our mindset so that we feel sad sometimes or we feel angry. These are normal, natural human emotions, but we don't let them spiral, and we know what we need to do to get our body and our minds back into a regulated state. Number two thing that can be a modern day stressor and can affect us as women is that it is a man's world, as they say. And I am not in agreement with this, but society is set up based on men's physiology, is what I'm trying to say. We're not small men. The 9-to-5 workday even was created around the man's 24-hour hormonal cycle, which is where they get a testosterone peak in the morning and it tapers off in the late afternoon. Whereas women, we have a 28-day-ish cycle that's influenced by the moon. We can feel completely different week to week. We are cyclical beings. Men can have the exact same routine every day. They can wake up at the same time, they can go to the gym, do the same workouts, have the same work schedule and energy levels. Whereas for us, you might have noticed that there's weeks that you're like super productive at work, you feel so confident, you feel strong and motivated in your workouts, and then a week or two later, you're really emotional, sensitive, you're exhausted, and you can't keep up in your gym class. It shouldn't be a major shift where you feel like a completely different person, but we are meant to go through changes and ebbs and flows with our energy levels and our confidence even, and our emotions, but try to flow with that instead of resisting it. And the solution is paying attention to your menstrual cycle. If you are not currently tracking your cycle, or if you're on the birth control pill still, the synthetic hormones, then maybe you listen to some of my other episodes and you'll learn the benefits of coming away from that. But paying attention to your menstrual cycle and syncing your life around your hormones to work with them rather than them work against you, you'll be able to thrive much more easily. So this is not something that you have to be super strict and rigid about. I actually answered a question on my recent Q&A episode. If you go back 1 or 2 episodes, you'll be able to find that. I answer this in a bit more detail. Someone was asking about cycle syncing. It's something that I take inspiration from, but it's not something that I follow to the T, because then I feel like it can just be a bit more of a stressor if you think that you can't eat a certain food at a certain time of the cycle. But the main things that I do is take my workouts and my workload when possible, and I bring my self-care up, I take the other things down around my period. So in the luteal phase, which is the lead up to your period, and on my bleed, during menstruation, I really dial back things like strength training or workload, or I'm not going to schedule a lot of podcast recordings around that time. And then after my period finishes, when I enter the follicular and ovulation phase, where my hormones are on the increase, that's like the spring and summertime, I can push it a little bit harder with my workouts, and I might want to eat a little bit differently to help estrogen detoxification. I might want to eat a little bit more warm, comforting foods, cooked foods during my period. So I do little things like that. I switch it up, but everyone is so bio-individual. And I said on the previous episode that with cycle syncing, the main recommendation is to eat like salads and juices and raw foods, more raw foods and lighter meals during ovulation, mid-cycle. But if someone's got major digestive issues or they're really depleted, they might still need that warm cooked food like they do during the period all month long. So yeah, like I said, take inspiration, but you don't have to follow it to a T. So if you start tracking your menstrual cycle using an app, there's the Flow app. There's so many new ones these days, I can't keep up, but just start to pay attention to where you're at. Most women have a cycle between, I'd say, 25 to 35 days, but the textbook is around 28, which, fun facts, I used to think my normal cycle was around 34 to 35 days, because that's what it would be a lot of the time. Really commonly, it would be that length. I would ovulate around day 20 to 23, and I just thought I had a cycle that was on the longer side of normal. But after working on myself further and really working into some of these things that I'm talking about today, my cycle is pretty much textbook now, where it comes day 28, day 30, ovulate day 14, and that was actually my true normal. What I was experiencing before wasn't. So just bear that in mind. You could be having a regular cycle and it's coming every month, but there could still be room for improvement with that. Number 3 stressor is the fact that we all have deficiencies and some degree of toxicity. So there is a definite spectrum with this. Some people it's major, some people it's minor, but deficiencies and toxicities are a big driver of health issues in general, even chronic disease, things like cancer, dementia, Alzheimer's. Starting with the deficiencies, I mean nutrient deficiencies. The nutrition in soil is so depleted. If you were to take something like an orange 50 years ago, to get the same vitamin C levels as you would back then, you probably need about 10 oranges compared to 1 back a few decades ago. This is just completely random numbers, but I'm sure it was something like that when I looked at it a few years ago. We're shipping produce from all over the world. We're getting bananas in the middle of winter in the UK, which I'd rather you still eat that than a piece of chocolate cake, but it is just so unnatural, and they're even storing it once they get to the UK, once they get to your local supermarket, they're storing it for weeks. By the time it actually gets to our plates, it's pretty devoid of nutrition. And then on the toxicity side of things, there's hundreds of new chemicals added into the environment each year. A study by the Environmental Working Group showed that women are believed to use, on average, around 12 different personal care products a day, from hairsprays and perfumes and makeup, containing in total around 168 chemicals. And many of these are hormone disruptors, endocrine disruptors. No wonder we have an epidemic of infertility, PCOS, endometriosis, ingredients like plastics and parabens, fragrance, there's heavy metals in our water. The water in tap water is chlorinated. It can have traces of medication in there because people flush their medications down the toilet, or if they're urinating them out, that's going to have some traces of medications in there, hormones and statins and antidepressants, all sorts of stuff that they can't fully filter out. And then air quality is a big one for me, having struggled with toxic mold exposure in the past, and it contributed to a lot of my chronic health issues. We know now that indoor air is actually more harmful than outdoor air because of things like cleaning products that we use, off-gassing from furniture, but also the toxic mold, which I definitely do think is on the rise. It's not just being diagnosed more because of modern day building practices, increases in things like natural disasters, floods, and we're also becoming sicker as a nation, which means our toxic buckets are already pretty full, and then these things can tip us over the edge and make us extra sensitive to our environment. So the antidote for this is, for the nutrition side of things, eating locally, seasonally and organic whenever possible, supporting your local farms and independent co-ops. Maybe you have companies that do veg box deliveries in your area. And calorie for calorie, the calories in an apple that's organic versus not are probably the same, but it's actually the nutrition and the antioxidants that are in there that are much higher. So it is worth your money. I used to wonder why people would spend extra money on organic before I knew all of this, and now I know that they're avoiding the pesticide exposure, they're minimizing that as much as possible. A lot of them can be linked to things like cancer, and they can have antibiotic-like effects in the gut. If you think of what a pesticide is, it's killing microorganisms. So when they say they're not harmful to human health, maybe not, I still think that they are, but they're damaging our microbes. And our microbes make up our immune system, and they drive a lot of our body. Like, we're more bacterial than we are human. And when they are traveling less, there's less of that risk of nutrient depletion. The longer, as soon as they're pulled out the ground or picked, they start to decline in nutrition. So if you can find a local farm 10 minutes down the road or somewhere that delivers, you are getting a lot more nutrition for your money. And the other thing that we can do is improving our gut health so that we can actually absorb our nutrients better. And if you have bacterial imbalances, low stomach acid, gut infections like SIBO or parasites, they can rob and steal a lot of our nutrients too. So working on gut health in all of its different ways. Mindful eating is number one. If you're not chewing your food and eating in a relaxed state, please start there. But there's so much else to do in terms of gut health. And then on the toxicity side, we can't avoid toxins completely, but we can have a major influence over our home environment. So if you can put a lot of effort into that, it will reduce your overall toxic burden, your toxic bucket. And this can just be a slow transition. Next time you need a new deodorant, can you find a non-toxic aluminium-free one? If you're buying cleaning products, can you buy natural ones that don't have all of these fragrances and harsh chemicals in there? Or consider making your own if you're into that. I'm personally not. But you can also get access to my favorite non-toxic products guide and shopping list in my foundations bundle, which is a new masterclass bundle containing 6 videos that go through what I believe the foundations of health are. And a lot of them are covered in today's episode. And vegan or cruelty-free, by the way, doesn't mean that it's non-toxic, because that's what's called greenwashing, where they try to market and make it look like they're healthy for you. But yeah, those terms aren't the be-all and end-all. So just this slow transition. I don't expect you to completely throw everything out in your kitchen, in your bathroom. Just trade things out one by one, and then within a few months or a few years, your home will be pretty non-toxic. And that means that then when you do go to your workplace, or you're traveling, you go on holiday, you're out and about in the city, it's not going to be as detrimental, because you're not exposed 24/7. You're in your home a lot of the time for most of us, so you can at least make sure that that is as healthy of an environment as possible. Number 4 modern day stressor is how a lot of us are disconnected to nature. We're spending all of our time indoors under artificial lights. When the sun is out, we're covering up with sunscreen and sunglasses. We're afraid of the sun. We're not getting our feet on the earth. Even the shoes that we're wearing aren't ideal for our feet and posture. I see a lot of vitamin D deficiency, low melatonin levels, hypothyroidism, adrenal and cortisol imbalances with my clients these days. And these could all be tied to disconnection from nature and imbalances in circadian rhythm, which is your natural body clock. If we're staring at blue light all day long because we are glued to our phones all the time, or it's on our body 24/7, most of us work from laptops, computers, or are just around technology all day long. And then what do? We swap our little screens in the evening for bigger screens in the form of TVs to end the day. And this is throwing off our circadian rhythm, which has a massive influence on our hormone health. Women's hormones in particular are very much governed by the moon cycles and are influenced by light. I'm not just talking about sex hormones either. Thyroid hormone, things like insulin, and for men, things like testosterone are still impacted, but women more so. We are dealing with irregular cycles, poor sleep quality, and therefore we're not healing and recovering. We have missing periods, and a lot of that can be due to circadian rhythm disruption. We can't spend all our days outdoors. That's just not realistic, but we can still make massive improvements from what we're doing. We can make little shifts that do add up and can really improve this area. So the antidote to this is basically the opposite of what I said: not fearing the sun, getting outside and letting the sunlight into your eyes at key times of the day. So this is first thing in the morning, and then having what I call light breaks throughout the day. So like people go out for a cigarette break. I'm guessing if you're listening to this, you're not one of those people. But instead of a cigarette break, you can go out and get a light break, multiple points throughout the day. And then in the evening, we're avoiding screens at night, or at minimum, wearing blue light blocking glasses. I personally love the Bon Charge ones. Not all are created equal, by the way. My code, my link are in the episode show notes. Or we can use filters to change the screen's brightness and warmness at night. You can all do that within the settings on your smartphone. And get back into grounding. A lot of us did this as children, but we just don't like to be in the grass anymore. We don't spend time at the seaside, or just once or twice a year when we're on holiday. Definitely don't sleep with your phone near your head or have your Bluetooth on 24/7. You can turn your Wi-Fi off at night. You can spend more time in nature, away from devices. Most of us feel a dramatic shift when we do that. We know that we feel better in nature. And yeah, this can contribute. I think this is one of the biggest things that contributed to my cycle shortening, which is amazing. And then 5th and final modern day stressor is the lack of community and social isolation. I think social media plays into this, but also lockdowns have worsened it. A lot of individuals develop social anxiety as a result. Children did too, and modern day kids are playing indoors on games or on the phone rather than playing out. I'm lucky, I feel, with when I grew up that social media wasn't really a thing, and I was just on that cusp of when they started to be rolled out when I was in high school. And yeah, I'm just really grateful that I got to experience a true childhood. And we had games, we had PlayStations, but I, yeah, personally love just playing it with my friends and would just look forward to it all day long. That said, though, there are some kids in my local estate, and it's just so lovely to hear them playing out. And it's school holidays now, and I wondered what it was at first, like screaming and shouting, because I think they just moved into the area. And I was like, oh, it's lovely, kids playing out. And then after a couple of hours, I was trying to record a podcast, so I was like, shut up. I didn't say that, but yeah, I just need to plan my podcast schedule around the shouts and screams. Where was I at? So social media can have a big effect on body image for teenage girls, I imagine, scrolling TikTok, comparing themselves to Instagram models or fake filtered pictures that they do look insanely realistic. And then for mothers are expected to do it all alone and be super mum, not accepting help, or some people genuinely don't have or can afford help. We are social creatures at the end of the day, and still in certain communities around the world, babies are raised by a village of people. Other women literally breastfeed their child if they can't. They make sure that the mother is healthy and taken care of, and now women are expected to snap back into the pre-baby body and get back to work in 6 weeks. This is very damaging and it needs to change. I'm personally doing all that I can now in my life and my business, being self-employed, to set it up in a way that I can get help. I can take a healthy amount of time off postpartum. I can work less when I have kids. That's really important to me. And I'm lucky enough to know this in advance and have some control over it when not everybody does. So the remedy to this is to find your tribe. If you don't have many friends at the moment, maybe you are postpartum, you don't have any mum friends, or you've been going through a health journey and have lost friends along the way. I actually did a recent podcast episode 2 on how to find friends on your healing journey, so definitely check that out. It's from 1 or 2 episodes ago. And I've made community a big part of my one-to-one and group work. Plus, I've also got my Manchester event coming up on the 5th of October. I can't wait. Not sure if there's going to still be tickets left when this goes out, but you can always message me to check. It's just £65 for a full day of workshops, talks, Pilates, healthy food, loads of amazing freebies, and then a somatic breath and body session. And then with my one-to-one program, you are added to a Telegram group, which is like a WhatsApp group. You get lifetime access to that where you can connect and receive support and guidance from others on the healing journey. Same from my upcoming group program, Modern Woman, which, by the way, inspired this episode today, because each of the different points that I have shared are things that we're going to be working on during the live group calls across the 12 weeks. Regulating your nervous system and rewiring your mindset, living in alignment with your female cycles and hormones, how to support your body, and how to improve gut health, detoxification, and then obviously the community connection piece. So if you've been feeling like this is me, as I've been reading through the notes today, you're like, yes, I'm struggling. I've resonated with what you said about not feeling resilient and feeling disconnected. I'm feeling stuck in my masculine energy, and you want to improve your energy, your periods, your mood, bloating and more. I would love to have you inside of this program. Not only do you get the 6 live group calls with me and the other ladies, you also get a one-to-one session for personalized recommendations, and I'll create a custom supplement protocol for you to follow based on your unique health history, current symptoms, and health goals. I will be guiding you through these changes one step at a time, supporting you the entire way. And I know that you're probably short on time as a modern woman and have already tried certain things like diet changes, supplements to help yourself, but it's time to get guidance from an experienced practitioner like myself, who's successfully helped hundreds of women now with their hormones over the last 10 years. This is the sign and opportunity you've been waiting for, and for just £555, you can begin your journey next week. I cannot wait to hear from you and meet you on the live group call on Monday evening. It's going to be at 7 p.m. UK time. I will put the information that you need in the episode show notes, or to send me an email, enquiries at Viva Natural Health, that's enquiries with an E, or send me a message on social media. You can find me at Viva Natural Health. So I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you again next time. I really hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, I would love for you to leave me a rating and review on your podcast app, as this helps to support the show and it allows it to reach more people with this valuable information. Come and say hi over on Instagram. I'm at Viva Natural Health. And if you haven't already, check out my website, vivanaturalhealth.co.uk, for tons more free resources and to discover how I could support you further. I currently offer one-on-one consultation packages if you want my top level support, then more affordable group programs and self-paced online courses. So there really is something for everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you back here next week for another episode.